Hello and welcome back to another deep dive.
Hey there.
I am really, really glad you're here with us today because we are about to go on a journey that's it's part history lesson, part philosophy class, and part ghost story.
It is. But not the scary kind of ghost story.
No, no, not at all. I have to stress this right off the bat. This is not the kind of story you tell around a campfire. Honestly, it's funnier than that.
And a whole lot smarter. It's basically the story of what happens when a ghost or, an energy personality essence decides to go to college.
Exactly. We are stepping way out of our usual setting for this one. If you've been following along with our explorations of the Seth Material, you know the usual scene.
Right. We're normally in a cozy living room in Elmira, New York.
Yeah, you can picture Jane Roberts in her rocking chair, Rob Butts on the sofa taking his notes, maybe the cat is wandering around. It's intimate. It's a safe space.
A home. But today, we're taking away that safety net completely. We're going back to the summer of 1965.
Okay, so where are we specifically?
We're looking at session 169 from the early sessions, book 4 of the Seth Material. And the date is July 12, 1965.
And the location is the key here. It's not the living room.
Not even close. It's a busy, cluttered office at Oswego State University College in New York.
Talk about a fish out of water.
Or a spirit out of the ether, maybe.
Something like that. And this change of venue, it's absolutely crucial to understanding this session. We're not just reading a lecture Seth gave to his friends.
No, we are witnessing a confrontation, a clash of worlds. We're seeing what happens when the spontaneous kind of mystical world of Seth slams right into the rigid, skeptical, show-me-the-data world of 1960s academia.
It's an academic standoff. That's what I'm calling it, is a battle of wills.
It really is. On one side, you have, the scientific method, the need for control, for repetition, for variables and proofs.
And on the other side,
you have Seth arguing that the very act of trying to control reality is what blinds you to it.
Okay, so before we dive into this intellectual boxing match, we do need to do a little bit of housekeeping. We want to be really clear that this deep dive is distributed completely free of charge on all major platforms, and it's for educational purposes only. We are not gurus.
No snake oil here.
Yeah.
We're just two researchers who are passionate about this stuff, and we're unpacking some fascinating material.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to analyze this clash, the laboratory versus the spirit. Can they coexist, or does one just inevitably crush the other?
A big question. So let's set the scene. The cast of characters, they're all a bit out of their element here.
For sure. First up, you have Jane Roberts. The material calls her Rubert, her entity name. She's the medium. And at this point, 1965, this is all still pretty new to her. I mean, she's confident, but she's still human. She gets nervous.
Especially when she's basically being paraded around a college symposium like some kind of lab rat.
Yeah.
You have to remember, in the mid-60s, channeling wasn't a thing. It wasn't a mainstream idea at all. He was making herself incredibly vulnerable.
And then you have Rob, or Joseph. He's the husband, the scribe, the rock. He's the one trying to keep everything grounded while his wife is, leaving her body in a stranger's office.
And then we have the new players. This is where it gets really interesting. We have a Dr. Instream.
Dr. Instream. Yeah, he's a really fascinating character in this whole drama. He's a co-director of this hypnosis symposium at Oswego State. He's the one who invited them in the first place.
Right. So he's kind of the bridge between these two worlds. He's curious. He's open-minded enough to even invite a psychic to his campus. But
he's an academic.
Deeply.
Right.
He's entrenched in that world. He needs proof. He needs methodology. He needs to be able to justify his interest to his colleagues, and he is terrified of looking like a fool.
And finally, the star of the show, Seth.
Mm-mm.
And in this particular session, he describes himself in a way that I think it's delightful. He calls himself sly and an egghead.
A sly egghead, which tells you everything you need to know about his mood that day.
Right. He's playful, but he's also intellectually razor sharp. He is ready for a debate. He's not there to be some spooky mystery. He's there to be a professor.
Okay, so let's rewind to that weekend. It's Friday, July 9th, 1965. Rob and Jane drive up to this symposium. What's the vibe?
Well, you have to picture the mid-60s. Hypnosis is starting to be taken seriously in psychology, but it's still kind of on the fringe.
So you've got a lot of serious men in suits, probably smoking pipes, all trying very, very hard to legitimize their field. They're talking about trance states, suggestibility, the subconscious.
And into this very serious, very academic environment walk Rob and Jane, handing out transcripts of a disembodied personality talking about the nature of reality.
Exactly. They're distributing copies of earlier session 138, 141, a few others, they give them to Dr. Instream.
And what does Instream do with them?
He does his due diligence. He immediately mails them off to a Dr. Gardner Murphy at the Menninger Clinic.
Whoa, wait, the Menninger Clinic,
Yeah.
that's big time. That was a premier psychiatric hospital, wasn't it?
It was. So Instream is basically saying, hey, look at this very strange thing I've found. Can you validate this so I don't look insane? Are these people for real or are they just crazy?
But not everyone is so open-minded, and this is where the drama really kicks in. We have to talk about the antagonist.
Yes, the nameless young psychology instructor.
Rob's notes describe him so vividly, even without a name. He says he's in his late 30s, it's Saturday evening, this guy picks up the Seth Material.
He doesn't really read it, right?
Yeah. He just flips through it for maybe a minute, skims it. He doesn't study the philosophy. He doesn't analyze the arguments. He just glances at it.
And what is his professional verdict?
He dismisses Jane as a clever schizophrenic.
Clever schizophrenic. That is such a loaded, condescending phrase.
It's so dismissive. It's like saying, oh, good for her. She's mentally ill, but she's, creative with it.
It's the ultimate put-down because it pathologizes her entire experience. Instead of engaging with the content of what Seth is saying, he just attacks the source. He labels her.
And once you stick the label schizophrenic on someone, you don't have to listen to them anymore. You've just filed them away as broken.
So Jane was upset, of course. I mean, who wouldn't be?
Rob's notes say she was upset briefly, but Dr. Instream, to his credit, he really steps up, doesn't he?
He does. And this is why he's one of the good guys in this story, despite his scientific rigidity. On Sunday evening, he sits down with him, and Rob's word is he demolished that diagnosis.
So he defended her.
He did.
Yeah.
He sees something genuine in what's happening with Jane. He just desperately wants to fit it into his neat little scientific box.
So that tension, that insult, it just sets the stage. By the time Monday afternoon rolls around, the air is thick. You have this insult hanging there. You have Instream wanting proof.
And you have Seth kind of lurking in the background, probably getting more and more annoyed.
He's getting ready to talk about the pompous nincompoop.
Exactly. He's been observing this whole scene, this young instructor, the whole faculty, and his patience is clearly wearing thin.
So let's fast forward to Monday, July 12th. The symposium is officially over, but Rob and Jane are still there. They have an appointment with Dr. Instream.
Right. They go to his class in the morning. They buy some of his books, doing a little networking.
And then they go to lunch at Howard Johnson's.
Howard Johnson's. You can just picture the orange roof. You can smell the clam strips and the stale cigarette smoke.
And during this very normal, mundane lunch, the conversation is all about psychic matters. And Jane starts to feel that familiar signal.
She feels uneasy.
Which is the Seth signal. The bat signal is a light in the sky. The Seth signal is Jane feeling jittery at a Howard Johnson's.
Exactly. Seth wants to talk. He wants to address Dr. Instream directly. But they can't do it in the middle of the restaurant.
So Dr. Instream suggests his office.
Right. And you have to picture this office. It is not a seance room. There are no velvet curtains, no crystal balls.
No. It's broad daylight. It's 1:37 in the afternoon. The sun is shining. Rob notes that the office is crowded with furniture. It's a totally institutional setting.
And it's noisy. Rob mentions they have to keep the volume down because there were people in the neighboring offices.
Can you just imagine being the professor next door? You're trying to grade papers, and you just hear Seth's booming voice lecturing through the wall.
It adds this layer of mundane reality to the whole thing. This isn't happening in a vacuum. It's happening in the real world, in a college administration building.
So Jane sits down, she closes her eyes, and she just goes for it.
Okay, so part 2. Seth takes the floor. The clever schizophrenic is about to speak.
And he does not waste any time.
Not a second. He comes through, he greets Dr. Instream, and he immediately addresses the elephant in the room, the human limitations of this whole experiment.
Yeah, let's look at this opening quote. Seth says, "I am indeed no misty-eyed, ghostly spirit materializing in the middle of the night. I am simply an intelligent personality no longer bound by your physical laws."
That is such a crucial opening statement. He's immediately distancing himself from the spooky Victorian idea of a ghost. He's not here to moan in the attic.
No, he's framing himself as an intelligence. He's saying, look, I am just like you, Dr. Instream, except I don't have a body.
He's putting them on the same level. You're an intelligent personality inside a body. I'm an intelligent personality outside of a body. Let's have a conversation.
But he is clearly annoyed that he has to play by their rules.
Oh, he's very annoyed. He says, nevertheless, these are limitations when I must accept these physical laws in order to prove to pompous nincompoops that what we, you and I, know exist does in fact exist.
And there it is, pompous nincompoops. He is not holding back.
Not at all. And he's talking about the young instructor for sure, but also the whole establishment.
The entire scientific community that just refuses to look at anything that doesn't fit into their very narrow definition of reality.
Yeah, Seth is expressing deep frustration. He feels like he has to lower himself in a way, to jump through all these hoops just to get these people to pay attention.
It's like a Nobel Prize-winning physicist having to explain basic addition to a kindergartner who keeps insisting that 1 + 1 = banana.
That's a great analogy. Seth sees himself as an educator. He says that's his field. But he's being forced to deal with students who are willfully ignorant because of their precious methodology.
But he does throw Instream a bone. He says, for Rupert's and Joseph's sakes, I stayed well within the bounds of propriety.
He's being a gentleman for them. He knows that if he comes through and starts screaming or throwing furniture, it reflects badly on Jane and Rob. So he promises to behave.
But there's a big caveat. He says, but if we work together, I will reserve for myself the privilege of saying to them what I choose.
He's laying out the terms of engagement. He's basically saying, look, I'll work with you Instream because you're not stupid, you're open-minded, but if you introduce me to a closed-minded idiot, I'm going to tell them they're an idiot.
I would pay good money to have seen that debate.
And you get the sense Instream actually respects that. He's fascinated. He's getting a direct line to this personality.
Okay, so let's dig into the meat of the argument. This is part 3, the core philosophy. Spontaneity versus the laboratory.
This is the real intellectual heart of the session. Dr. Instream represents the laboratory. He wants controlled conditions. He wants to be able to repeat the experiment over and over. He wants methodology.
And Seth's whole point is that the methodology is the problem. He uses this incredible analogy about an egg.
Yes, the egg analogy. Seth says, when you crack an egg to discover what is inside, you ruin the egg.
Let's unpack that for a second, because, I mean, usually to eat an egg, you have to crack it.
Right, but Seth isn't talking about making breakfast. He's talking about understanding the nature of the egg, the life force within it, the potential, the enclosed living reality. If that's what you're trying to study, taking a hammer to it destroys the very thing you're looking at.
He says, we do not need a hammer to crack the eggshell. I am egghead, but I do not need a hammer to be cracked. Which, first of all, Seth making an egghead pun is. It's just great.
It's very witty. But the deeper meaning is about the ego. In Seth's worldview, that rigid scientific intellect, the part of us that has...
And when you approach psychic phenomena with that hard, aggressive, I must control this attitude, you kill the spontaneity.
And spontaneity is everything.
It's the key.
According to Seth, it's the doorway. He says it is our doorway. If objects come through, if evidence comes through, it comes through that doorway.
So if you slam the door of spontaneity shut because you're too busy setting up your cameras and your measuring tapes, you've locked the phenomenon out.
Precisely. You have created an environment where the very thing you want to see cannot exist. It's the observer effect on steroids. The very act of this kind of rigid observation blocks the reality from ever appearing.
But that has to be so frustrating for a scientist like Instream. He's thinking, but Seth, if we don't measure it, nobody will ever believe us.
And Seth's counterargument is basically, then you need to change how you measure.
Right.
You have to find a way to observe that doesn't involve smashing the egg. You need to be sly. You need to come around the corner quietly, not kick down the front door with a battering ram.
And this all leads to Seth completely redefining what a trance even is. Because Instream is analyzing Jane, diagnosing her again. Oh, she's in a light trance. This is automatic speech.
And Seth just flips the entire table over. He says, the waking state is as much a trance state as any other state.
Hold on. So, we are in a trance right now. The person listening to this is in a trance.
According to Seth, yes. His definition of consciousness is the direction in which the self looks.
Okay, that sounds huge. Let's unpack that.
Think about it this way. When someone is in a traditional trance, what are they doing? They're intensely focused on an inner reality, right? To the point where they block out the physical world.
Right.
Well, Seth is arguing that our normal waking life is just the opposite of that. We are intensely focused on physical reality. We're hyper-focused on matter, time, space, all of our sensory impulse. So focused, in fact, that we block out everything else. We are in a physical matter trance.
That's a mind-bending idea. So being awake isn't being fully conscious, it's just being fixated on one channel on the cosmic TV.
That's it, exactly. And a medium like Jane isn't doing something abnormal or supernatural.
Yeah.
She is just changing the channel. She's just shifting her focus.
And that completely reframes the whole scientific study of Jane. Instream is looking at her like a bug under a microscope, trying to figure out what's wrong or different about her brain.
And Seth is saying, there's nothing wrong with her. She just looked to left when you're all staring so hard to the right.
It democratizes the whole experience. Seth says the human is not innately limited. We can all do this. We just have to learn how to shift our attention.
But Instream is still stuck on the physical proof. He's just obsessed with Jane's voice.
Ah, the voice. Yeah, this is part 4 of our dive.
During this session, Jane's voice changes. It gets deeper, stronger, more masculine. And Instream is fascinated. He wants it on a tape recorder. He thinks that is the evidence.
It's such a classic mistake. He's looking at the special effects instead of reading the script.
And Seth just calls him out on it. He flat out admits it's a trick.
He does. He says, "For my own enjoyment, I use such tricks at times. Such effects have served to increase the confidence of Rupert."
He's basically saying, look, I do the funny voice because it helps Jane feel like something real is happening, and frankly, it amuses me.
But it proves nothing.
He says it explicitly. It proves nothing. A funny voice is not proof of an independent consciousness. Any decent actor can change their voice.
But he still agrees to do a voice tape for Instream.
As a gesture of goodwill. It's a peace offering. He's saying, okay, fine. If this little toy makes you happy, I'll play with the toy for a minute. But then can we please get back to talking about the real stuff?
The real stuff being the content, the philosophy, the actual insights.
Exactly. Seth wants to be judged on the quality of his ideas, not on the theatrics of the medium.
Now, they also start to gossip a little bit about other researchers in the field. This is where we get the inside baseball of 1960s parapsychology. They bring up Dr. J.B. Rhine.
J.B. Rhine, I mean, he was a legend. He founded the parapsychology lab at Duke University. He coined the term ESP. He's the guy who did all those famous card-guessing experiments.
And Seth has a very specific and kind of surprising critique of him. He says Rhine has a sweetness.
Which sounds like a compliment, but Seth uses it like a double-edged sword. He says Rhine's sweetness allows for spontaneity to happen, which is good. But he also gets too personally involved. He lacks a certain kind of rigor. He's too soft.
And then there's another director they mention who Seth critiques for the exact opposite reason.
Right. Seth says this other guy is too concerned with his own personal image. His ego gets in the way and blocks the effects. He's so terrified of looking foolish or of an experiment failing that he creates this atmosphere of anxiety that just kills any potential psychic phenomenon.
It's the Goldilocks problem.
It really is.
Yeah.
Seth says he cannot work with the gullible because they do more harm than good. They'll believe anything, so their endorsement doesn't mean anything.
And he can't work with the hardcore, closed-minded skeptic because their negativity just slams the door shut.
He needs what he calls the mean, the middle ground. He needs someone who is open-minded enough to let the egg crack naturally, but also smart and rigorous enough to analyze what comes out.
And he thinks Dr. Instream might just be that guy.
He has hope, at least. He tells Instream, I look forward to long conversations with you. Like yourself, I am independent. He sees a kindred spirit in Instream's intellectual independence.
But there is this dark cloud hanging over the whole session, this fear of public opinion. Instream brings up his worry about vicious attacks on Jane once her book gets published.
Which is a totally valid fear. I mean, remember the clever schizophrenic comment? That was just one guy in a private setting. Imagine the whole world reading this stuff.
And Seth's take on this is just fascinating. He sees that whole incident on Saturday as a vaccination.
Yes. He says, had it not happened now, a much more vicious attack would have occurred at a later date.
So getting insulted by that young instructor was actually good for them.
It toughened them up. It was a controlled exposure to the virus of public ridicule. It forced them to face the worst-case scenario, being called crazy, and to realize that they survived it. It helped them prepare their defenses.
It's strategic. Seth is playing the long game.
He always is. He tells Instream, I am somewhat sly. I am used to getting around corners.
I love that line so much. I am used to opening eggs without cracking them.
That just sums up his entire methodology right there. He wants to open our minds, the egg, without destroying our sanity or our ego. He wants to expand us, not break us.
So as we wrap up our analysis of this really incredible session, what are the big takeaways?
Well, first, I think, is that The conflict between science and spirit is so often just a conflict of method. You can't measure joy with a ruler, and you can't measure psychic phenomena with a hammer.
Second, Seth is a personality. He's funny, he's snarky, he's an egghead. He's not some generic all-loving spirit guide. He's a very specific consciousness with a very low tolerance for nonsense.
And third, and maybe the biggest one, is the redefinition of reality. We have to stop thinking of trance as something weird or abnormal. We need to start considering the possibility that our obsession with the physical world is its own kind of trance.
And that we're missing the rest of the show because we refuse to change the channel.
Exactly.
It really makes you think about what we're all ignoring, right now, just because we're so focused on our phones or our jobs or the traffic. Now, before we go, we absolutely have to give credit where credit is due. This entire deep dive was based on session 169 in the early sessions, book 4 of the Seth Material,
Which is published by the New Awareness Network.
And if you found any of this conversation even remotely interesting, you really owe it to yourself to read the original.
Yeah.
Seth's voice, his actual words on the page, it's something you just have to experience directly.
You can find the books at sethcenter.com/the early sessions. That's sethcenter.com/the early sessions. Go check it out. It's so important to support the preservation of this material.
And as we said at the top, we distribute this deep dive for free for educational purposes. We just want this knowledge to get out there.
It's too important to keep locked up in a dusty office somewhere.
So here is our final provocative thought for you to carry with you through your week.
We talked about this idea of the waking trance, the idea that you are, in a sense, hypnotized by physical reality.
So ask yourself this. If your waking life is just a trance focused on physical matter, what else is happening in the room with you right now? What are you missing simply because you refuse to look in a different direction?
What might be standing right behind you, just waiting for you to shift your focus?
No, okay, now you're just trying to scare people.
Maybe just a little bit.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Take care.